Okay, little distractions here. We are working with a faculty member at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Central Mass, and they're doing a number of student projects there. So Professor John Wilkes is the co-advisor there with me, and I'll be talking about mostly what we are hoping to do with one of these student groups. There's if you had seen the other power. Interesting. Leave the software to surprise you. Okay, so anyway, do I get started now? Good, thank you. Okay, so there's my contact information. We have a table over in the exhibit hall, or just leave your name on the sign-up sheet. So what we're trying to do is design something where kids could play that might look like a small Mars settlement. It would initially be located in a museum in Worcester, Massachusetts, but we also would like to have, additional copies of it. And if any of you are members of a local group that would like a project, you could build something that could go into it, or maybe help make a duplicate of it at one of your local schools. Oh, and what you I think I'm going to go over that later. Okay, so. We did something like this with only 4 students a couple years ago, primarily focused on 3D printing applications of ours. But this year, there's about 20 students working on all interrelated projects under Professor Wilkes. So I don't have time to mention most of these, but many of them are groups of 2 or 3 or 4 students who go into an elementary or a middle school and teach some science lesson using a moon base as the setting for this science lesson. It might be about biology or electricity, insulation, heat transfer. So that's what most of these students are doing. But 3 of them will be designing this children's Mars homestead. And I want to mention another group will be working on the third bullet item, settlement mission plan. Basically a mission scenario to set up a permanent settlement. But these guys are robotics students, and they're going to emphasize how robots could help with the manufacturing, both maybe before people arrive, but certainly afterwards. These slides are not in the order I have them in. Okay, the last item I want to mention, we unexpectedly received a white elephant. It is an industrial capacity vacuum pump. It's capable of going down below Mars pressure. It's capable of pumping out a moderate-sized greenhouse down to very, as low as the plants can survive. We could also pump down a Mars chamber and maybe test rovers in it. The trouble is we don't have a vacuum chamber. That's actually more valuable and more awkward than the pump. But if anybody wants to get involved in a cooperative project to, something, some kind of vacuum test facility Mars Society chapter or an NSS chapter. Only, okay, good. Less than half of you. The rest of you, please check out, see if there's a local chapter near you or a astronomy club. And try to get active. We also have plans for a much larger, multi-million-dollar facility. This is off, in the future, and we're looking for small steps to lead to it. Okay, I think the next several slides are partly from the Discovery Center in New Hampshire to give you some ideas. So be thinking about, can you come up with an idea that kids would love that could be part of this. By the way, this is a classroom where children, especially school groups, come in at the Discovery Center it's in Manchester, New Hampshire. There's my 3D printer, and we were talking with the director about how to use it in this space. So this is a structured place where the kids can do activities rather than just unstructured play. We have plenty of room for unstructured play that is actually not, teaches them something. On the right, David was one of our WPI students. He's hoisting himself up on pulleys so the kids can learn all kinds of mechanical principles. These balls are floating on top of the air. They have Van de Graaff generators, plants, robotic arms. So we're looking for something to fit in with this. That's a duplicate. This is the first room that was offered to us. It's, I think it was 600 square feet. And we tried to fit in a small Mars settlement inside it. It's a little tight. I mentioned the robotic arms. So some of these could be incorporated in the design. Kids love to climb. You go to a children's museum and there'll be these foam structures that they're climbing all over. Let's make one of these, a Mars base, a Mars ascent craft. So anybody want to design a Mars rocket that kids can climb on? Or a playhouse that looks like this. So you go into this playhouse and there'd be, maybe a pretend kitchen with all your plastic food and plastic plates, except it's a pretend kitchen that's on another planet. Digging. I've seen kids that have a great big sandbox and they sit on a seat and they have this robotic backhoe on. They just love that kind of thing. I was talking with the director. This is a mock-up of a submarine, and he doesn't want to turn this into a Mars prototype habitat, but instead we'd be designing something maybe half this size that the kids can play in. Running a rover. These are basically moonshots to get a prospective donor or somebody who would participate in this. I think one of the next slides shows a suggestion for a zero gravity experiment that you can do indoors. On the right is it's a drop box. You hoist it up on a pulley as high as your ceiling is, and you let it go, and it falls into a box of foam. But inside it, there's a webcam, and you can put some object in. You can put a toy in there. Here's a candle in there, and so you get a very, very short videotape of something So if you want to minimize your cost, you would light, especially on the moon where you have 14 days of darkness, you'd use artificial light that is blue LEDs and red LEDs. And you go into the greenhouse to pick your lettuce, and all the lettuce is black. And how many here want to eat black lettuce? Okay, one. Okay, so what you do, so we would have something like this, but the kids would have to turn on a white flashlight and say, oh, you know, my plastic lettuce is really green, it's just under red and blue light. So we're trying to kind of sneak in, you know, various science concepts without the kids knowing that they're learning. They think they're fighting. Who knows what this is? Shout it out. You always get the question, how do you go to the bathroom in space? So this is a space toilet. I'm especially interested in the 3D printing. By the way, where's that wad of string with the 3D printed parts that's passing around? Okay, go ahead. So if anybody wants to see it, it's back in the back table. Mars is especially a great place to basically start building a settlement, growing into civilization, because you've got carbon. There's relatively available carbon, nitrogen, water, and sunlight. And the carbon not only is good for growing plants, you can make plastics out of it. You can either, you know, go through the chemical synthesis, somewhat like you do from petroleum, but starting with carbon dioxide, or you can grow plants and you use those. Who ate in the Packard cafeteria downstairs today? Okay, they have silverware made from plants, so I'm adding this to my display. And who knows what Packard is named for? Packard. Next time, when you go down there tomorrow, ask them who it's named for. Do you want to say?
I'm from California. Grade school.
So the story is he survived. Okay. So anyway, you can make plastics and polymers out of corn and other plants. You can make rayon out of bamboo. So the other proposal that we're working on at WPI would be the Mars settlement, where you emphasize construction on site, like making plastics using a laser cutter and a 3D printer to make all your interior furnishings. Okay, kids just love the 3D printers. You know, they'll stare at them and figure out how they work. I have a built-in one that they can play with, you know, and move the pulleys around. We first exhibited one at the ISDC in Colorado, Chicago. And we were in the darkest corner of the exhibit hall, and Patrick, who was loaning us the printer so we didn't have to carry it, had fitted his printer with blue lights that flashed. They were in series with the motors, so whenever the motors made a noise, the lights flashed blue. And these kids were wandering through thinking about space and aliens, and they turn the corner and there's noise and blue flashing lights. And they had aliens on their mind. So they came over and like they were just stuck there for a while. And then and then we tell them, how it works, what it's for, the application of building in space. But they just wanted to see the blue flashing lights. Another proposal of ours that we're not going to get to this year, but we'd like to do it the following year, is make a mock-up of a Mars habitat. And it might look almost identical to that, except it would have, and instead of wheels, it would have, descent rockets and landing legs and maybe an aero shell. So are there any volunteers to add an aero shell to this? Make it a lander. You can buy them on eBay for around $5,000, or you can buy them new or get them donated. So here's a larger habitat that's just waiting for the landing legs and the descent rockets. Okay, and the other one is the cheap one, $2,000, $2,000 $2,025. Of course, some assembly required. Okay. Is there anybody who missed the beginning of my presentation because I started early? Okay. Well, I'll be talking to you over these at all. So, let me tell you where we hope this leads to is something. You guys know the living history centers on the East Coast. There's Plymouth Plantation, Sturbridge Village. What's the name of the one in Virginia? Jamestown and Williamsburg. Yeah. Henry Ford put together a bunch of historic buildings in Greenfield Village in Detroit. Sturbridge Village they got a lot of buildings from about 1830. They moved them all to one site and made it into a town. Families come, they pay their admission, which is pretty high, and they get to talk to people who are pretending that they lived in the 1830s or the 1600s, whatever. So I met a woman who was the second wife of one of the Plymouth Plantation officers, forget her name, Barbara something. Anyway, she was pretending that she didn't know anything about the 20th century, 21st century. And so I finally asked her, I'm working on a project where we want to colonize a new area, and it's kind of like above the clouds, and we have ships that can go into space, like the Mayflower. And I'd like your opinion as a Mayflower, settler. What do you think of this, and what should we take? It's pretty cold, the air's pretty thin, it's windy, there'll be no plants or animals when we get there. And she said, take sheep, because we're going to want to have wool and knit sweaters and So this was a homesteader's concept of how to colonize this place above the sky, and she was pretending to be in the year 1630. So we'd like we would like to propose something like that, but set in the future. So living history, but in the future, a place where the families can go and talk to Mars settlers, see how they live, see how they build, eat, work. This is actually a separate proposal, but I just wanted to get you thinking about this as well. Come by the exhibit table, and I have about 30 slides that I can show you. So it would look like a Mars settlement maybe 50 years after they started. You can see the original landing craft and what they built on site. In the interest of time, let me keep going. There's a possible site out between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. And I think, yeah, that's it. So let's just leave it on this slide. And I can take, we're pretty early, I can take 10 or 15 minutes for questions or discussions, and you're not after me. But anyway, with the next speaker get ready to come up, a few minutes early and start getting ready. So questions and comments? Yes?
Where did you get your 3D printer and how much did it cost?
Our first 3D printer was broken and on loan from the WPI Robotics lab, and we never got it working. They also gave us the one that was even more broken that I let the kids play with. We just got a donated 3D printer, and it got shipped to Hawaii to a Mars habitat, and I don't have a picture of that. But that reminds me, we'd like to have a link up with one of the Mars habitats, and the kids can, we don't want to take the time of the crew when they're in sim, but maybe you could go into this kids' Mars homestead and they could watch what's going on in real life. They could also print the same components at the Mars Hab in Hawaii or MBRS or FMars that we're printing back in New York City. The rest of your question, what does it cost? As near as I can tell, the good 3D printers go for around $2,000. There's a lot on sale for like $1,800. There's some advertised for $300. I can't say that they're all bad, but some of them you need continual adjustments. You know, some of them are kits that you build yourself, and every few hours of work you got to adjust it. So, way into that.
I love the idea. What's the biggest hurdle that you have in making that sort of larger project take place?
But so you're talking about the larger project, the living history.
The living history.
Yeah. Right now, all of our technical work is done by volunteers, and the volunteers don't like to write the final report.
Sure.
So they love daydreaming, you know, making sketches, but nobody wants to put it together into a report and give it to a potential donor or a corporate sponsor or you know a partnership or write a business plan. So if we go this route, which is nonprofit, the biggest hurdle is organizational and motivation for the people who aren't doing the fun work. Another route is for-profit. And I happen to think that because this is education-oriented, it would be best done as a nonprofit. But you can go either way. By the way, we are in desperate need of writers to take some of our PowerPoints and turn them into web pages with the text written out. And editors in general, and good artists, good people who are good with either CAD or with paintbrushes, and also publicity. There's a lot of other hurdles as well. Also, if you have any leads for a potential corporate sponsor or somebody who might want their name on the project, let us know. There was a question in the green shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, could you say just a little bit more about what you see as the kind of mission and goals of the project? It seems, that not only is this kind of really useful for having kids think a little bit about what the experience of ours will be like, but it sounds like it sort of allows them to reflect in quite an interesting way about kind of their terrestrial life as well. And I guess I'm particularly interested, and maybe you can say a little bit more about the suggestion that, some kids, not only do they not know much about the woodland, but they don't know much about their urban environment. And,
Yeah, that's
Mars, one way or the other, is going to be like simultaneously wilderness and a very intense urban experience, which to me is kind of fascinating stuff.
Okay, yeah, you threw several topics at me, but yes, one thing about living in space, or Mars, is it's a new environment. There'll be new challenges. We will be forced to invent new things. We don't know what they are yet. Just as when the Europeans went to North America, it was kind of a boost for new industries and new technologies. And that's one of the motivations for this. Another motivation is just more and more kids are growing up in the city, and they only know their neighborhood or their school, or some cases their gang. And I'd really like them to occasionally see on TV kids who are their same age growing up off planet somewhere. And being able to go at the night sky and say, which star is it they're growing up on? I can't find it. But just kind of broaden their horizons. Most kids are never going to get into space, but they're going to start thinking about it. And I'd like every kid to have an opportunity to emigrate into space if they, work hard and are able to earn it. Okay, ideally, anybody who could afford a suburban house could afford the rocket fuel to get up to low Earth orbit and then further. Now that might be a long ways off, but I think it's technically possible. Going back to your earlier thing, you said mission and goals. Mars Foundation goal is figure out how to live on Mars. Bob Zubrin and most of the people you see here are talking about round-trip missions that lead to settlement. More and more people have, at least up until 2 years ago, it was more talking about round-trip missions at first. And now it's becoming acceptable to talk about a one-way settlement program. So two things. One is the high-level technical plans of how you do it, and then the second is publicity about it in education. And this is the educational aspect of it. Yeah, Richard?
Well, I would think that one of the things that you would achieve out of this is to incentivize kids to pursue math, science, and technology educationally. Get us out of the 25th worldwide position.
Yes. So just to repeat, this would get kids more interested or more incentive in the science,
Back to
technology,
Sputnik and what
education,
happened.
and math. Yeah, just get them.
When Sputnik happened, that it really encouraged kids
Yes.
to get into science and technology.
And there's a lot you can do. I personally don't like the message that we sometimes tell kids. Study math, study technology, study engineering, study math, and maybe you can be an astronaut. I think that's a bad message for half the kids because they're struggling with math. And so they say, oh, I can't be an astronaut. And I'd like to get the message out that we also need farmers. We need people who are tinkerers, who can take a broken piece of equipment and fix it. And that's a little different than getting high math scores. So, way in the back, young person.
What age group are you aiming at this project?
Yeah, there's something fun here. I do a lot of exhibits at weekend events. Last weekend I was at the Rhode Island Maker Fair. They had a bunch of hobbyists who were manufacturing things and a lot of 3D printers in the room. And kids would come up to the table and they'd say, it'll probably take at least 10 years to raise the money and make the general plans, and at least 10 years to build it and get it there. So we are looking for crew members who in 20 years will be between the age of, say, 25 and 40. And I wait for the kids' reaction. And then I say, oh, by the way, to the parents, older people are welcome to help get started, do the technology, mission support. For this education, kids center, people of any age can help or participate in various ways. The target audience is anybody who can get there, but most likely grade school and middle school. By the time kids get to high school, it's really hard for their parents to get them in the car to go someplace. And they've got their own friends and are getting married. Now, as far as a Mars mission, it's at least 20 years off, and I recommend sending a bunch of young people who have been through college. Choose the crews as they're in college, put them in training together, hope they fall in love with each other so they don't drag a spouse along with them or leave a spouse behind. And so basically, in their mid-20s, into their 30s in at least 20 years. Questions?
So with the 3D printer, are the kids actually going to be using 3D printer, and if they are, what software?
Okay. The question is, are the kids actually going to be using 3D printers at this education center? I hope they'll see it work and be able to use it to the extent that it's safe and they have the attention span. So one possibility is we would recruit hobbyists who want to use the printers. They would come in and run the printers for their own interest, making things that they want, but at the same time answer questions from everybody there. At one point we had a printer set up where you could basically move a joystick. It was actually on a screen where you could click arrows on a screen and you could watch the head move forward and back, left and right. So you got to feel that you were using it. There are some safety issues if you actually have full access to it, because it's more than 100 centigrade. When the plastic actually comes out, it'll
Well,
burn your
would
skin.
they be designing what's going to be going in the 3D printer, maybe not
Yeah.
actually operating it?
Okay, yes, and I'll get back to that. And the second safety thing is, if you stick your hand in near where the head is, it'll hit you. Okay. We would like it so the kids, if they sign up for a class and devote several hours over a few weeks, where they could learn simple CAD programs. And the first thing they do is take a standard CAD design and modify it. So maybe they add their initials to something, and then they print it out.
So like Creo? Like Creo?
I don't know. But anyway, it would take several hours before the kids could actually, use CAD well enough to get a result. And then an hour or two if they're actually going to be running the printer. And this would still all be with supervision of somebody trained. By the way, if you're interested in this yourself, look up, the phrase is makerspaces. All around the world are clubs of hobbyists who are joining together and maintaining equipment. They started with conventional tools and power, hand saws and drills and whatnot. But now more and more they're getting laser printers and 3D printers. So look for something called a makerspace in your community.
Well, I've used it.
Okay. Makerspace. Yeah, makerspace is the generic name for these clubs. Every club has their own name. You can find it through that. Yes.
As a business major in college, could you spend a little bit more on your comments and your feelings about getting children that aren't strong in STEM, but are strong in other areas such as record keeping, communications, being competent as well?
Okay, so the question has to do with kids who are not strong in STEM and science, how to get them interested. I can't really address that right now, but let me throw out some suggestions that might be applicable. If we have one of these, I call them baby bouncers. You wear a bunch of bungee cords to take most of your weight to simulate different gravity levels. You could do ballet, acrobatics, sports in those. So, you could picture we could put a net down the middle of this room and play volleyball with a really high net. And can you jump high enough to spike the ball? Artwork, painting desert landscapes or Mars landscapes, writing, graphical design using the computer. There's a long list of things. Would the next speaker start getting ready? Come on. It's 4 minutes till till 3 o'clock. So if anybody wants to take a break, do so now. I'll take one or two questions while the next speaker.
Do you have a website?
Yes. Who is the next speaker? Raise your hand. You are? I'm confused. Okay, website. We had hackers attack our old website, and we ended up freezing all the scripts. The new website will be marsfoundation.org. So to repeat, marsfoundation.org.